Hey guys, so I'm here to do a long awaited and long overdue review for the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette, which I have added to my favorites. I just absolutely love this palette. It's a great neutral palette with pops of color that's great for anyone's collection. I think this is one of the must-haves, and I'm gonna do the review for you, so stay tuned if you want to see the swatches and how I feel about this palette. So the palette is currently available at Sephora stores and Sephora online, as well as Ulta stores and Ulta online, as well as the Too Faced website. You can also find this wherever you can find other Too Faced products. So now let's move on to the swatches of the eyeshadows. So here's a look at the actual eyeshadows with the names lined up on that transparent sleeve. As you can see, this is Gilded Ganache, Salted Caramel, Hazelnut, White Chocolate, Marzipan, Crème Brulee, Semi-Sweet, Hot Chocolate, which I thought was a cute play on hot chocolate, Hot Chocolate, Milk Chocolate. This one is Strawberry Bonbon, Cherry Cordial. If you're a bartender, you know what that is, or just, are you a liquor lover? Yeah. Black Forest Truffle, Candied Violet, Triple Fudge, yum, Amaretto, again, a liquor lover, and Champagne Truffle. So first up is White Chocolate, which is a matte ivory shade with a yellow undertone. This is the first of the large highlight shades, and I think this will work great as a highlight shade for lighter skin tones. On darker skin, it will come off a little bit ashy, so I'd use this as a inner tear duct highlight or as replacement for a white eyeshadow. Next up, we have the other large highlight shade. This is Champagne Truffle, which is a very shimmery kind of icy champagne shade. It has a little bit of a pink undertone, but it's not really noticeable on my skin tone. Again, this will work well for lighter skin tones, or for darker skin, I would use this just as a pop of highlight on the inner tear duct area, but not as a under eyebrow highlight. Next up is Salted Caramel, which is the lightest of the brown shades in the palette. It is matte in finish, and it's a nice medium caramel shade. It has a very warm undertone. It will be great for a blend-in shade for darker skin in the crease, and it will also work as a great transition color in the crease too for smoky eye for lighter skin. I think this is one of the best colors in the palette. It's one of my favorites. Next up, we have Milk Chocolate, which is a medium dark brown shade. As you can see, it has a strong brown neutral undertone, and this again will work great in the crease area. It will even work great as an all over lid color. These shades are going to work great for blending and wearing just as a natural neutral eyeshadow look. Next up is Semi-Sweet, which is a red based dark brown shade. This will work great for an outer V, outer crease color. It also can work great for a smoky eye. It is richly pigmented along with the other two shades, which are also nicely pigmented. Now last up of the matte brown shades is Triple Fudge, which is that really blackened brown shade. It's lovely for a smoky eye, for an outer V color to darken up the lash line, great to smoke out a look. And I think all four of the neutral brown shades are great for a neutral look. They're all pigmented. I didn't have any issues with blending them. They blend really well together, so I think these matte shades are awesome. Gilded Ganache is one of my favorite shades in this palette. It's like a dark brown base with a antique gold overlay, and it's absolutely gorgeous. You will have a little bit of fallout from this color due to the glitter overlay in it, but it actually adheres very well to the skin when using a good primer, so fallout shouldn't be too much of an issue and you'll get full color payoff. Again, this one is richly pigmented. Next up is Hazelnut, which is a warm bronzy shade. This is one of the true frost shades in the palette. It's not highly frosted though, which is great because that makes it more wearable on more skin types. It is a great shade. It's a nice bronzy shade. It works great for neutral looks, and it adds a little pop of shimmer to the lid. Next up, we have Marzipan, which is a buttery soft champagne shade. It's a light icy champagne shade that will work great as a inner tear duct highlight or a shade under the brow. Again, with darker skin tones, be careful with this color because it can come off as ashy, but it's buttery soft and smooth and blends seamlessly. It's great. It's a great color. It has great pigmentation and it's really smooth. Next up we have Crème Brulee, which is also one of those buttery soft shimmer shades in the palette. Again, a more true frost finish. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you're one of those people that love gold shades but yellow golds look a little bit too stark on your skin, then this kind of peachy gold shade will be great. Next up we have Hot Chocolate, which is another bronzing shade from the palette. This one has more of a taupey undertone to it, so it's not as golden bronze as the other shade Hazelnut in the palette. And I put a swatch here so you can see that Hazelnut is a little bit more golden bronze, while Hot Chocolate is more of a taupey bronze shade. And again, another nice buttery finish. Next up we have another matte shade from the palette. This is Strawberry Bonbon, which is a very pale pink shade, and as you can see, it looks like it might be a little bit powdery on my skin. It will take a little bit to build this color up to get a full color payoff, but I think it will work well as a inner tear duct highlight or as a brow highlight, but you won't get full color payoff too much. It will look very pale and ashy against darker skin. Next up we have Cherry Cordial, which is a dark burgundy shade with a little bit of a purple sparkle in it. This shade is not one of my favorite shades. You're going to get fallout from that sparkle, and the color payoff is not the best. It comes off a little bit patchy, but it works great as a nice outer V color. It deepens upper look. Then we have Black Forest Truffle, which is this dark kind of also burgundy shade with a lot of golden and pink shimmer in it. This one I prefer over Cherry Cordial, but this one is going to give you even more fallout with the glitter that's in it, so you have to definitely use a great primer with this so the fallout is minimized. But this is a nice color. It gives me a little bit more pigmentation and payoff than Cherry Cordial. Next we have another colored shade. This is Candied Violet, which is a gorgeous violet shade with pink sparkle, and it works amazingly on the skin if you apply it over a great primer, because again, with the shimmer you're gonna get fallout, but it's such a gorgeous color that it's worth the work. You can use a dampened brush to apply this so the sparkles stand out more, but it's absolutely gorgeous. I love this shade. You're gonna have to do some work with this to get full color payoff, but I think it's an absolute gorgeous shade and it's a great addition to this palette. Next up we have Amaretto, which is this gorgeous coppery bronze shade in the palette. Again, it's one of those buttery shimmer shades in the palette. It's absolutely gorgeous, great color payoff, great blendability. Again, I've swatched Hazelnut, which is the more golden bronze shade up here, and I also have Hot Chocolate, which is that more taupey bronze. So you see you get 3 bronze shades in the palette, but they differ enough that you can get different looks from them. So the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette is priced at $49 and you get 16 eyeshadows, but you don't get a bonus brush or primer or any sample size of any of their products. You just get the eyeshadow palette itself. And there's also supposed to be a guide included in the box with a couple of looks that you can try out, but I didn't even have that in my box, so I can't even count that in what I got. But all you're getting are the eyeshadows for the $49. So at $49, you're paying a little bit over $3 per eyeshadow, and I'm saying that because I want to use that for reference purposes against other eyeshadow palettes on the market. So neutral palettes have kind of recently in the last couple of years become a thing. So they're kind of like a dime a dozen on the makeup market now. So I'm going to compare it to the Urban Decay Naked palette because I think Too Faced and Urban Decay are similarly priced products. They are similar quality products. So I'm going to compare them price-wise. Urban Decay Naked palettes, they're the neutral palettes that have the 12 eyeshadows, and they retail for $52 for the 12 eyeshadows. Now the difference between the Urban Decay palettes are that they come with a little dual-ended brush. Let me grab mine right over here. So you get a dual-ended brush included, as well as a couple of samples of their eyeshadow primer. And I bring that up because if we were just comparing eyeshadows, you'd be paying about $4.33 per eyeshadow for the Urban Decay eyeshadow palettes because they have 12 eyeshadows included in the palette for $52. But if you want to weigh it out really, you get a dual-ended brush, which is actually a pretty decent brush, and you also get some samples. So bear that in mind. The price may be a little bit higher per eyeshadow if you equate it that way, but if you're kind of weighing them with the products that you get included, such as the brush and the primer, then they kind of balance out, kind of even out in value. Another palette on the market that I also love is the Smashbox Full Exposure palette, which is also $49, and that equates to about $3.50 per eyeshadow because you get 14 eyeshadows included, plus you get a dual-ended brush, plus you get a sample size of their full exposure mascara. So again, you're paying a little bit more if you equate it just for the eyeshadows, but if you do a comparison with the brush included, which is actually a decent brush, and the sample size mascara, they kind of balance out again and equal out in value. Another palette that I wanted to mention is the IT Cosmetics Naturally Pretty palette, which is also a neutral palette, and it's from IT Cosmetics, which is available at Ulta stores and on QVC. And this palette has 15 eyeshadows, and this retails for $42. You get a little bit less quantity of eyeshadow, but it's also cheaper. And I said that all to say that this palette is reasonably priced up against its competitors in the market, that being Urban Decay, Smashbox, and even IT Cosmetics. It's those brands that I would compare that product up against, and I think it's equally priced because of the value of it. The eyeshadows, you get a little bit more eyeshadows. You get 16 versus 12 or 15 or 14, and you get a little bit more quantity per eyeshadow. Value-wise, I think it's worth it. Value-wise, up against other brands, I think it's also worth it. You get a little bit more eyeshadows, but you don't get the bonus buys with this product. So the palette itself is this dark brown kind of metallized tin palette with the chocolate bar design, a typical chocolate bar, think Hershey bar, and you have that chocolate bar design. You have Too Faced and chocolate bar actually embossed on the front of the palette, and on the back you have the product details, the product size, and all that good stuff with the manufacturer information on the back. So any information that you want to check out is on the back here. And the overall theme is this dark brown with the pink and gold lettering. Inside the palette, you'll see the eyeshadows laid out in that chocolate bar design, and you'll notice that 2 of the eyeshadows are actually double size. You also get a mirror in the lid that doesn't span the entire length of the lid, but that doesn't affect me because I don't typically use the mirror inside a palette. But if you're used to using this mirror, know that it's not a full-size mirror. Also, you get the transparent little sheet with the names of the eyeshadows, and you have to lay this over the eyeshadows to see the actual names, which I find to be a great disappointment because I'd rather have the eyeshadow names printed on the insert with the eyeshadows themselves rather than on a separate transparent sheet. And this is more of a vlogger nuance because you want to be able to show the eyeshadow name rather than referencing back to this sheet. If you're just a regular eyeshadow user or makeup user, then this shouldn't affect you too much. The palette closes with a magnetic clasp, so there's no actual clip or snap fit closure for this palette, but I find that the magnet is strong enough to hold this palette securely. If you're one that travels a lot and has this palette bouncing around, I would probably put something over this palette like a rubber band or a hair tie just to hold it in place so it doesn't open up while bouncing around in your luggage, because this clasp is not as strong as it could be. So it's great for just regular use, but for travel you might need to secure it a little better than the magnet allows. So in this palette, you're going to get an assortment of matte and shimmer shades. There are 16 shades in all, with 6 of them being matte, and the remaining 10 are an assortment of frost and shimmer shades. There's some shades that are more of a satin finish with a glitter infusion. So as I mentioned before, there are 2 double-sized eyeshadows. These are twice the size of the single eyeshadows here, and these are your typical highlight shades. For me, these don't work out that great because they are very light. One is matte and one is shimmery. They are very light shades, so they would work out for light complexions, but for darker skin, they may not be the best shades for you. Another thing of note is that these shades smell like chocolate. Like, they smell divine. You're gonna smell it when you open the palette. You're gonna smell it while you're applying it to your skin. It also lingers a little bit, but it's not an overwhelming smell at all. The scent is very faint and it fades throughout wear, so don't worry about being overwhelmed by scent. but if you are someone that's very sensitive to smells and you can't get over like a vanilla chocolatey smell, then this might be a little bit overwhelming to you. But overall, I didn't find this to be a repulsive scent. It's actually quite delicious, and it didn't linger on my skin enough to cause an issue. So one of the benefits of cocoa powder that has been highlighted is that antioxidant value. It will heal your skin, protect your skin, and kind of condition your skin with the built-in soothing properties of cocoa powder. So I think that's a great benefit for eyeshadows, especially since your eyes are one of the most sensitive areas on your face. So overall, guys, I absolutely love this palette. It is one of my favorite neutral palettes. It's great for travel because it has all these neutral shades that you can use for a natural everyday look, but it also has pops of color that you can do a smoky eye, or you can add a little bit of pop of color to your everyday look. I think the shimmer shades are absolutely outstanding. They work so beautifully. They blend so well. They're buttery, they're creamy soft. Once you touch one of these shimmer shades, you're gonna be like, what? Heaven! And then the matte shades that are in the palette, the matte neutral shades, are absolutely divine as well to work with. They're nice crease shades. They're going to give you nice transition shades. They're going to give you great colors for an everyday look. I absolutely love these colors. I think they'll work great, extremely great for darker skin. This is one of those palettes that sing to darker skin. So you're not going to be left out at all if you have darker skin with this. If you have lighter skin too, you can work these shades into a nice neutral look. The other matte shade, which is this light pink shade, was a little bit of a troublesome color. It's not my favorite shade, but you can definitely build it up to get a nice pop of pink. It's not the best shade for darker skin. The shimmery shades with the glitter infused, like Gilded, Ganache, and Black Forest, Truffle, they're beautiful shades. I absolutely love them. I love the nuances, the duochromes, the glitter to them. Oh, and also Candied Violet. I absolutely love the effect of them, but you're going to need to work with them. Use a great primer and prepare for fallout because it's going to happen. But if you use a good primer with these, maybe dampen your brush, you're going to get such a gorgeous color with these. They're absolutely amazing. The one shade that I wasn't too much of a fan of is this Cherry Cordial shade, which is not so much of a bust. It's just not the best color to work with. It's similar to the Black Forest Truffle, and that I think works much better. But overall, the majority of the shades are great. The highlight shades, I wished that they were a little bit more dark girl friendly. I wished it included one for lighter skin and one for darker skin, or just divided these two larger shades into 4 so we could get a better mix of highlight shades for a variety of skin tones. Darker skin won't get too much use out of the lighter shades, but you can use them as inner tear duct colors. They'll work well for that, but I wouldn't advise them as highlight shades under your brows because they can come off a little bit ashy. I love the packaging. I think it's a nice package, but there are a couple of things that I wish they had done a little better with. One is the clasp. For travel, this clasp won't be the most secure, so you're going to need to use alternate ways to secure this, like putting a rubber band and securing it together so it doesn't open around in luggage. And also this transparent sheet with the names on them, I wish they had just printed the names on the insert itself so we could tell what the colors are. But again, that's a blogger kind of nuance, so those are a couple of things I would change about the palette itself, like the actual design of the palette. But overall, I think this is great. I think it's worth the investment, and it smells divine. But this is one of my favorite neutral palettes on the market, hands down, period, because it has a great assortment of matte shades that actually work really well and are really blendable and creamy and soft. They're not powdery and patchy, thankfully. They're nice and creamy, and they adhere to the skin without being patchy as some mattes can. Few things I would change, but that wouldn't prevent me from getting this palette and recommending it to you guys. So definitely let me know if you picked this up, if you checked it out. How do you like this palette? And yeah, I'll leave a link below to my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook page so you can check me out. Let me know how you like this review, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!